Hey, have you and your partner ever fought about money? One spends too much, the other saves every penny, and in the end, no one agrees. If this has ever happened to you, know that you're not alone. Money is one of the biggest causes of arguments between couples, and if not managed well, it can strain even the strongest relationships. But what if I told you there's a simple way to create a budget that respects both individual desires and the couple's goals? Today, I'm going to show you a practical step-by-step guide to managing your finances as a couple, without arguments, without excessive control, and without anyone feeling like they're giving up their freedom. And the best part? This can actually strengthen your relationship. So stay with me until the end, because these tips might change the way you handle money together. Now let's get straight to the point. Why does money cause so many fights in relationships? The answer is simple. Each person has a different relationship with money. While one may have grown up in an environment where saving was a priority, the other may have learned that money is meant to be enjoyed in the present. And when these two mentalities meet without a clear plan, conflicts begin. And it's not just me saying this. Studies show that financial problems are one of the main reasons for breakups. And it makes sense. If you're not aligned on how to spend, invest, or save, any financial decision can turn into a battlefield. But the good news is that all of this can be solved with a well-structured budget. To achieve this, there are three fundamental pillars for a conflict-free couple's budget. First, total transparency. No hiding expenses or keeping secret accounts. Both partners need to know exactly how much money is coming in and going out. And don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to report every penny spent like an audit. Transparency simply means having a clear understanding of finances so that decisions are made together. The second pillar is having a flexible budget. Many people think that creating a budget means locking every dollar into place, but that only leads to frustration. The secret here is to divide the money in a balanced way. One portion for shared expenses, another for financial goals, and another for individual spending. This way, no one feels like they're losing control over their own money. The third pillar is setting common goals. After all, a couple needs to have aligned financial objectives. It could be buying a house, traveling, investing for the future, or even paying off debt. The important thing is that you discuss and set goals that make sense for both of you. When there's a bigger purpose behind the budget, it becomes much easier to stick to it. Now that you know the three fundamental pillars, let's move on to the practical part. How to create a couple's budget from scratch. The first step is to sit down together and list all your income and expenses. Write down how much each of you earns and what your fixed expenses are as a couple. Things like rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and entertainment. Next, decide how expenses will be divided. There are different ways to do this. Some couples prefer to split everything 50-50, while others opt for a proportional division based on income. For example, if one person earns more, they might contribute a larger percentage. The key is to find a fair balance that works for both of you. Now comes the most important part. Setting aside money for individual spending. This means that each person has an amount they can use however they want, without needing to justify it to their partner. This simple strategy prevents many unnecessary arguments because it eliminates that feeling of control or that one person is cutting the other's freedom. And if you want to take budgeting to an even more organized level, a great idea is to create a Your Joint account just for shared expenses. This way, each person deposits their portion and the bills are paid automatically from there. But be careful. This account is only for shared expenses. Each person's personal money should remain separate to avoid fights over individual purchases. Now, before we wrap up, let me tell you about some common mistakes couples make when trying to organize their finances that can end up causing even more problems. The first mistake is not talking about money. Many people avoid this topic because they find it uncomfortable or fear coming off as controlling. But the truth is, the more transparent this conversation is, the fewer conflicts will arise in the future. The second mistake is creating a budget that's too rigid. If you make a super detailed plan that doesn't allow for unexpected expenses or fun moments, it'll be almost impossible to follow. A good budget needs to be flexible so that no one feels trapped. Another common mistake is not setting aside money for individual expenses. What often happens is that one partner spends on something personal and the other feels like they shouldn't have because it wasn't in the budget. But if you allocate money from the beginning for each person to use freely, these arguments disappear completely. And lastly, ignoring the importance of an emergency fund. Unexpected events happen, and if a couple doesn't have savings for emergencies, any financial issue can turn into a major crisis. So before thinking about any other goal, make sure you have at least a few months' worth of expenses saved for emergencies. Now that you know how to create a couple's budget without fighting, I have a challenge for you. Sit down with your partner today and start this conversation about money. Define together which method works best for you, and take the first step toward a financially healthier relationship. And if this video helped you, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, tell me in the comments, how do you and your partner handle money? Have you ever tried organizing your finances together? I'd love to hear your experiences. See you in the next video.